Hey everyone, welcome back to bageltcg. Today I'm excited to announce a brand new format that I've been working on for a while, and I'm super excited to show it off to you all. So it's called Splice, and it's going to be a new multiplayer format. I liked how Ultimate Pit Fight was working, but I kind of wanted to make it be a little more creative, right? I really like how some other games have multiplayer formats that encourage a lot of creativity, and I think Flesh and Blood could really benefit from some more creativity in deck building, right? Especially in a more casual setting, which multiplayer usually is. So the rules are pretty similar to a mix of Ultimate Pit Fight and Classic Constructed, but the most important thing about Splice is that you pick two young heroes and you make a deck that can use cards from either of their pools. So specializations are included with that. So if you have, Chain and Levia, you can use any Chain cards, any Levia cards, including weapons or equipment or specializations, right? So anything that either of those two decks could have by themselves, you can do with them together, right? Your starting life is the life of the combined heroes. So if you're using Briar and Kano, for example, Briar has 20 starting life as a young hero, and Kano has 15, so you would start with 35 life. Deck construction is going to follow the classic constructed layout. I think that kind of just keeps it simple, right? Everyone knows how classic constructed decks work, and they're a good size already. So it's an 80 card total, not including heroes. You have to have at least 60 cards when you start the game, and you can have like a sideboard with weapons and equipment and stuff like that, right? This means you can play weapon equipment from either hero, but you don't get like two-handed weapons because you have two heroes. It's still the normal amount of equipment: one head, one chest, one arms, one legs, one shield if you're doing that, and then a two-handed or two one-handed weapons, right? So normal. The only thing that you're doubling up on is the heroes themselves and the decks. The important thing to note is you can activate both heroes if they both have activated abilities that have Go Again, for example. You can go ahead and do that, right? If they both have passive abilities, those both activate whenever they would. So it's just like having two heroes, right? That's really the exciting thing. The exciting thing is how some of these cards are going to interact with each other. The ban list is going to be the same as Classic Constructed, so plus a few extra cards that just don't really work in this format. So Seeds of Agony, Drone of Brutality, and Duskblade are the bans off of the CC ban list. Duskblade makes the most sense here, obviously. The other two, Drone makes a lot of sense too, right? And probably Seeds as well. But especially Duskblade, a multiplayer formats usually go for a while, and I'm sure you could get a Duskblade to like 20 power without the opponents being able to stop it. So it's probably a good idea to not have Duskblade in this format, despite how much I personally love that card. The additional bans are going to be Data Doll. I have two MK2, but it's Data Doll MK2. Basically, just because I think she's the only young hero with 3 intellect, and I'm not quite sure what I want to do with that yet, so I'm just banning her from now. If you want to try playing with her and you talk with your play group and decide if you start with 3 or 4 intellect, that's up to you. But I don't know if maybe she should just make both heroes 3 intellect, so you're at 3 intellect, or you should keep 4 intellect if you have a 4 intellect. It's basically confusing. I'm not really sure what to do. 3 intellect is supposed to be her downside, and when you have a 4 intellect hero, it doesn't really work out, right? So it just keeps it so everyone's 4 intellect and you draw your normal 4 cards. Data Doll doesn't get confusing here. I think she would also be super busted with Chain, since I think when something gets banished, when an item gets banished, she gets it right into play. So Data Doll Chain sounds kind of disgusting. So we're just not going to do that. Same with Go Bananas. The card's really funny, but I personally don't really enjoy someone naming Heart of Fyendal and then cracking 90 boxes to try to get their Heart of Fyendal. So yeah, if you want to do that with your play group, I think this is a casual format. Go ahead and go bananas if you want to go bananas with your play group, but I would have backup cards if your play group wasn't really interested in you cracking a ton of packs to get a card you wanted. The other card that's kind of on the watch list is Fyendal Spring Tunic. It's kind of a staple, right? But I think it's maybe too good in a format that goes with games this long, and it might just make it so every single player always has to run Fyendal Spring Tunic because probably nothing else is better than it. I'm not sure for now, so I'm just going to have it on the watch list, but if it turns out that the only chest that you should play for every hero combination is Fyendal Spring Tunic, it's probably going to be banned because that's just really boring, and I want this to be a really creative format. And gameplay works similar to Ultimate Pit Fight, where you can only attack the players on your left and right, which is why I recommend 3 players, but 4 also works, which means you just can't attack the player that's across from you and not on your left or right. I do also want to test playing where you can attack any of the 3 players in a 4-player game, right? Similar to how like Commander works in Magic, but I kind of think they intentionally made it so only left and right. It just works better in Ultimate Pit Fight, so we're gonna run with that for now, and I'll let y'all know if I ended up changing that. So those are the basic rules. It's pretty easy to grasp and build, right? Classic constructed deck, classic constructed ban list plus a few extra. You know, you get 2 heroes, you get their combined life, and you can use any cards from their combined pool, right? Gameplay is similar to Ultimate Pit Fight. You can only attack left or right, so I recommend 3 or 4 players. Now we're going to go over some example decks because I had a ton of fun brewing ideas about this format, and just really pushing how powerful you can make decks here, or also how fun you can make decks here, right? So we're going to start with Spellbound Kano. Sorry if these pictures are a little low definition. Just grabbed them off Fleshandblood DB, the database. But this is a really cool deck. This is one of the first ones I thought of. Basically, Spellbound Creepers lets you at an instant put a bind counter on it and play your next non-attack as though it was an instant. And also, you can pretty much always keep it around because you just have to deal arcane damage equal number of bind counters, which can be a lot if you're using Kano, right? So you attack with Briar, who can run other cool arcane boosts like Flicker Wisp. You attack with her with any of her attack actions, and then for the cost of only 1 extra resource, you can play any of your wizard actions at instant speed, right? And that doesn't take you any action. So if you attack with any card like Lightning Surge, the 0 for 4, that could have Go Again for Briar, right? Then you can just pay 2 resources and then play a Lesson in Lava at instant speed. So really powerful. I really like how Spellbound Creepers can be abused in this deck in combination with Kano. And I like that Briar, her Lightning, which is what you're going to be probably leaning into, has a lot of arcane boosts. So it's a really arcane focused deck. I'm calling it Spellbound Kano for now, and it seems really fun. I'm excited to try this one out. Once again, you would have 4 intellect, which you shall always have 4 intellect in this format, and your life would be 35 because Kano has 15 and Briar has 20. The next deck is going off of another fan favorite. I know a lot of people love OTK Viserai, where you try to build up like 20-something Runechants, and then using Sonata Arcanix to flip a bunch of cards, get a ton of cards in hand, deal a bunch of arcane damage, and try to kill them in 1 turn. Well, it turns out the aura from Prism, Oath's Wrath, just says whenever any source you control deals damage to an opposing hero, they lose 1 life. And Runechants are all separate sources of damage. So if you have an Ode to Wrath out when you do the Runechant combo, 20 Runechants is actually 40 damage because they each get doubled by an Ode to Wrath. And if you have multiple Ode to Wraths, which probably won't happen, but if you do, it adds it triples the damage of the Runechants, right? Basically, so this is kind of a really fun combo that you're trying to go off using Ode to Wrath, and then doing a bunch of Runechant generation. You can even do some extra stuff with like Prism. I'm not exactly sure if this deck wants to lean more into Angels or if it wants to be more just a Runechant deck with some Ode to Wrath in it. But that's kind of the fun of this format, is you have such a big card pool compared to what a hero normally has. You really get to experiment with how powerful you can make these decks. The last deck, I guess this one's kind of obvious and maybe a little too strong, so we'll have to see. But Levy and Chain obviously work great together. They also kind of make Lady Barthamont extra good, right? So whenever you play an attack action with Lady Barthamont, you banish the top card of your deck, right? So with Chain, you can just a lot of Chain cards unlike Levia cards, Chain's cards you can just play from banish a lot of the time. So it's just really strong. Also, Doomsday is kind of broken in a Chain deck, where if you're at 6 shackles, you can just kind of play Doomsday. So it's a lot of fun stuff. Maybe you can get out Blasphemafet and Ursur. I would love to be able to get both the Ursur and the Blasphemafet tokens out on the same board. That would be really fun. So it's a really cool banished deck, just using the 2 Demonastery heroes to try to do some crazy stuff from your banished. So those are 3 decks I think are on the more powerful side. I also have one kind of fun deck called Mr. and Mrs. Moneybags. Just showing the the fun stuff you can do with this. So this deck is based around all the coppers and all that fun stuff. So using the two tokens or the two heroes that generate coppers, with Kasai making a copper token for each weapon attack that hit, and Cavden making a copper token every turn. If you have less life, right? Then you can use cash-in to draw a bunch of extra cards, and you can use remembrances to shuffle your cash-ins back into your deck. So you can, use your three cash-ins, remembrance the 3 back. That's what? 12 casts. You can cast cash-in 12 times if you do it perfectly, which would be really funny to draw 24 cards off of cash-in. So I just wanted to show some of the fun stuff you can do with this format too. I'm probably going to build all 4 of these decks and kind of bring them around my locals and see what people think of the format. I'm really excited to play it, really excited to show it off, and I think it has just so much room for creativity. I would love to hear what you all think in terms of what decks you're going to play, and what you can do with this format, because I think the options are almost limitless, right? You can combine any hero, any young hero with any young hero. That is so many combinations when you do the math. I think it's just going to be a really great format and a nice spin on multiplayer Flesh and Blood to make it more interesting than just building a normal deck. This adds a lot more complexity, which I think is great. Remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment. Like I said, tell me what you're going to build, and I'll be making some more videos this week, maybe a meta update, maybe another deck tech. So yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.